Neil Parekh in the background here, and yeah, we're live. And I'm gonna bring this up here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to StreamYard Tech Talk. We are here every week at 11 a.m. Eastern, talking about live streaming technology and gadgets and all the cool stuff. And so, for lots of us that use StreamYard, StreamYard is just so easy. We just go ahead and do the live streaming. Some of us like to go a bit beyond that, and that's what this show is all about. It's for those who want to do a bit more than just simple live streaming. So we talk about all the tech here, and we bring in guests like real people that do real work, and see how they do live streaming. Somebody gave the angry emoji to this show. I'm wondering what the heck is going on. So let me know if you're not unhappy with the show. If you don't like it, show me the hate. Let's do that, and show the love too. So talking about all that, before we get started with Neil Parekh, who is the founder of Digimentors, which is a hybrid event production service. They do a lot of other stuff, but that's how I know him, and he's been very active in our community. So he'll be showing us some of his tips and tricks, some of his setup. He'll also show us how he uses overlays. That's run of the show. So if you don't know what a run of the show is, it's basically how you run the show together with a team. So if you're interested in working with a team on running shows, this is a great episode for you, and a topic that'll probably be interesting for people with virtual cameras. Manycam, we'll be talking about that as well. I was using a sort of virtual camera, and I was doing this little trick here before, right? So we can talk about all these things. Hi, buddy Leo, a good friend of the show, is here. Leo's been on the show. Julia, lots and lots of people here. We're going to be showing you and featuring you. Couple of let's see, what have we got? You're going to be, you can join the show live. I'll show you the link to join live on the show a little bit later in the second half. I don't show it yet because then people will be waiting too long in the backstage. And what else? And don't forget to subscribe to this channel that you're watching on right now, because it'll alert you whenever any of our other awesome shows are up and running. Christian's got a great show going on Saturdays, YouTube channel reviews. He's got a bunch of things going on there. So let's start with the show. Why don't we, right? So here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey there.
Hey. Hi, Neil. Welcome to StreamYard Tech Talk.
How you doing, Daniel? Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Very, very happy to have you. I've been looking forward to this episode for a while here. Why don't I let you introduce yourself first a bit, then we'll talk about, we'll show your setup a bit and your room, your space, and then we'll get right into like the beefy stuff. And guys, if you have questions, post them. Try to use the hashtag ask, and I try to follow up with those as well. As you can see, we get tons of comments in the show. So yeah, we'll just let's get going, Neil.
Absolutely, and I wanted, if you don't mind, I want to go back to Sri Srinivasan, the founder of Digimentors and a longtime friend of mine. I've known him for 25 years. I left my job at United Way to join Digimentors and work with him full time on live streaming and virtual production. So thank you, Sri. It means a lot to hear that. There are a number of other friends that are watching, friends that from Digimentors and friends of StreamYard as well. Leo, great to see you, Leo. I remember when Leo was on your show several weeks ago. So that was great. And I saw Julia Weeks and Carl Baranakis. There's Josh as well.
The show gave some awesome advice as well. So it was great seeing Josh's setup. Yeah,
absolutely.
So okay, so why don't we jump right into it, and we can talk. We'll get to know a little bit more about Digimentors as we go along.
Another Digimentors, Carla Baranakis. It's great when your friends show up and with very little notice. So thank you, Carla and Julia, and others. So what do you want to know? What can I help you with?
Okay, so let's. We always open this show, StreamYard Tech Talks, with a bit of a look around your space and your setup. So you're in the space right now where you usually broadcast from for your own shows, correct?
Sure, exactly. And so this it's actually interesting. And I what I do is I direct mostly direct shows. I'll occasionally get on with Shri when we do the Sunday New York Times read along, but most of my work I do from my desk, from my office here. So I'll go ahead and show you a little bit about of what we have, and we'll just add my. There we go. So you can see this is my desk setup. Now, the first thing we'll say, you can see the ring light. You can just make out the ring light at the top, but that's the window, some good natural light. I'm actually, particularly when I am directing, I'm not a fan of natural light because the natural light can change. We've had guests that are bathed in great light and then a cloud comes in and it's like someone turns off the light. So I rely on the ring light for that purpose. But you can see there's great light coming in as well. What I have right now is a very temporary setup. And what I was telling folks earlier is that this is keeping it real. It's a messy desk. So, it's a creative mind at work. It's a mad genius at work. But the reality of it is that most of my work has been done on this HP Omen laptop, a gaming laptop that I bought back in, I think it was last summer when I started doing live streaming work. And I'm already getting hardware issues with it. I have to send it into HP. Can you believe that? I had to buy a desktop. There's a monitor, HP Pavilion right there with a Ryzen chip over the weekend and set it up. So I have a whole different setup than what I usually do. A new monitor, keyboard. I have the second laptop ready in case I need it. At some point, I'll actually have the laptop back. I'll have the desktop, and I'll have a Mac as a third option. I'm using a C920 webcam that I put at the top of the monitor. You can just barely see it there in the light. It's a Fifine microphone over there, right above the StreamYard mug. So yeah, that's mostly the setup, mostly the tech setup.
I love how simple it is, straightforward, and this is great because oftentimes we have in the show people who have very expensive equipment and that really go, really are streaming enthusiasts, but really you don't have to. And I love this that this is so that you can make great streams and produce great shows with really simple equipment. So thank you for showing that. That was really, really nice to see.
Absolutely.
How you have sort of this dark environment to work in there. I know a lot of people like sort of dark mode work zones. Is this intentional that you have this kind of dark area there, or is that just?
It's just the function of the lighting. If you take my desk off, for example, right? You have my the back is a plain tan background. I don't have any except for that little bit of a New York poster on the back. Nothing else on the walls behind me. So it's well lit for my face. It's not well lit for my desk because no one is usually seeing my desk. That's not the purpose. That's not the focus of my work. And so yeah, so it's just what it is.
Yeah, and just I changed the settings as I saw Chris's message, but that he said, "Is there a way to stop the chat suddenly jumping?" I think he meant something different. But if you notice, our frames were moving up and down when they switched when they would switch between the comments on and off, and now they don't do that, right? So this is a way to there's a setting that allows you for this. And I think if you were asking about the comments just scrolling through really fast, if you have a lot of comments, just scroll up the comments a bit, and then they stop scrolling. So that's all you have to do.
Sure.
Down all the way down to the bottom, they'll keep moving, they'll keep going. So we're not really showing that today. So Neil, we're going to talk about the first item we're going to go over is overlays.
Okay, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about overlays. Let me see if I have a quick message here. Before we get into that, let me see. Oh yeah, if you've got just letting everybody know, you can use hashtag love StreamYard. Usually we do that towards the end of the show. Yeah, and you can win a mug. That's just, you can put it now, put it later in the end of the show. And yeah, and make sure to subscribe. I had that scrolling over there. So let's talk about overlays. Why don't you show us a bit of the kind of work you do with overlays when
Sure.
and the use cases of when you use those overlays.
Sure. So the basic approach that we at Digimentors take with overlays, and for folks who are just joining, Digimentors is the production firm that I work with, hybrid and live stream events. We want to brand every event that we're producing. And a lot of times we'll switch between the one shot and the two shot. So Daniel, with your permission, I'm going to take over your show. So if I was interviewing you, for example, I would put you in a one shot and ask you a question and talk to you, right? I might switch back to me if I'm the guest or if I'm the director. We might go to a vertical shot like this. We might go to a wide shot like this. And one of the things that I see a lot of people talking about in terms of overlays is how do you get an overlay that fits the framing, 2 wide shots or 3 people or 4 people like that. We do so much switching back and forth that kind of overlay doesn't really work for us. What we do is we want to brand our shows consistently. So for example, we use a tan background for a show called the New York Times Read Along. It's Shree's Sunday New York Times Read Along. Sri Srinivasan is the host. I'm the executive producer and guest host when he's not available. But this is what our show looks like. And to take off the background, the very top is an overlay. This is a 1280 by 720 graphic created in Canva. You need a pro account to make transparent images, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, Figma, you can create transparent PNGs for free. But we just put a strip. This is about 85 pixels high at the top, so that whoever, what we were talking about earlier, if I'm the one speaking, you still have the branding on the show. You still have the name of the show up top. If I switch to Daniel, you'll still see that. If I go to the 2-shot or the wide shot, you'll see that as well. So that's one of the things that we do. And yes, someone said, "Oh, that I've taken over." Daniel, thank you for letting me take over driving the show. It's kind of hard to get it out of your system when you're used to doing that. What I wanted to point out is another example. There's a show that we did for Girls Inc. of Omaha. Lunch for the Girls 2020 was the hashtag. In this case, we branded the top with the hashtag and kept their logo in the corner. But sometimes you get a speaker who's not framed as well as Daniel and I are. Daniel, I'm going to put you in a one shot and sit up a little bit. Get your head to get cut off by the logo, by the branding, right? If you're like that, we don't want to cut off your head. We switch just to the logo in the top right corner. And that's, again, a transparent overlay with just the logo. One note on that I would say is I always advise clients to have a graphic that has a white or some kind of solid background behind it. If you use a transparent logo and your logo is tan, for example, you would lose it in the corner. Or if it was white, it might hit against the white wall, for example. So that's one thing to think about with that.
Right. And I love how it's so easy. These features are so simple and so easy, but you use them in such a smart way, and it changes the whole experience when you do so. Right?
The other thing that we've done for Capital Area United Way, I worked with United Way for 9 years, and was thrilled to be able to work with them on a number of projects. They had a sponsor, so they had the name of the event across the top. We had their logo, and then we had their sponsor logo in the bottom right corner. And if you get a little creative, you can place it perfectly so that it doesn't interfere with the display names or lower thirds, comments, scrollings, etc. That comment looked pretty good from Nasira. Let's put that back on the screen. All right, you can go home now. I'm done. But wait, there's more.
There's plenty more. Yeah. So I just want to make a comment here. A few comments. First of all, there's a question here about animated overlays. So have you been using animated overlays at all?
We don't use animated overlays. No, I've seen other people talk about that, and I think you can use GIFs as overlays if I'm not mistaken. So that might be something worth looking into.
You can, and you can do things like just do things like this. I just put
That, sure.
a little counterclock there, so you can do. And I was talking to Christian about this the other day, where he's going to show how to do this properly, where it's like he's going to go in depth and counter time was on Friday with Julie on Learn with StreamYard. So look for that show. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get it, and I know it's in the StreamYard community as well. So for sure, it's there.
And I'll just interrupt, Daniel, if you don't mind. Is it just me? On my end, I'm seeing your video is pixelated. Is that just on my end?
That's just. I hope it's just on your end. It's yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I'm not. Yeah. Let us know, guys, in the comments if you're also seeing me pixelated. I sure hope not. Yeah.
The other thing to note with the overlays is that we also do matching backgrounds. Just to yeah. So it looks like, Daniel, it might be your internet.
It's dropped significantly. I don't know what to do about that. I hope it reboots itself, it resets itself soon.
You might want to try refreshing your screen. I'll keep the show going in good hands if you want to, Daniel. And he did without hesitation. So my name is Neil Parekh. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Events and Communications for Digimentors, taking over StreamYard Tech Talk until Daniel can come back. And just like that, you look great, Daniel. So there you go.
So as I refreshed the page and logged back in, I had a message from StreamYard there saying that Facebook is having some issues. So if you're seeing me pixelated on Facebook, maybe that's the reason.
Sure. Sure.
So hopefully I'm good now.
Sometimes you have to run with that. You have to just work with that, right?
Yep. And the limits. So StreamYard will automatically pick up a new server if your server, if the bandwidth isn't good, it'll reroute you. If there's some problem with the streaming server along the way, it'll automatically reroute you to a new server. And we have many of those going on simultaneously. But if
can I say one of the best things about StreamYard is that it's in the cloud, so that if you do lose your internet, if you are producing a show for someone, and this has happened to me, if something happens to your system, if you lose your internet, the show is still going on. So if I'm directing a show, I'm in the background, I can restart my computer, and I've lost 3 minutes. I may have a colleague in the show helping to switch while I'm gone, but it doesn't interrupt the show. I think that's one of the best things about StreamYard. I really do.
It is. And I just want to touch base on a couple of questions here that are more StreamYard focused, but they're in here, so I'll just grab them.
Sure.
And then we'll get back to the show. So one is, what's the best way to show screens that are longer than 5 minutes? So there's, I think we allow 10 minutes now to show videos. And very soon we're going to be able to do infinitely long videos because you'll be able to stream them directly from your computer.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's coming very shortly, and yeah, you'll see that soon. So that's up and running. Some people, I was talking to Leo Mendel about a different use case. So touch base with me if you're like, you need it to be very long in the cloud. Maybe we'll touch base with Leo about it at some other point. But let's not get into that right now.
Sure.
I wanted to quickly touch base about co-hosting because we're both here doing this, where we're both co-hosting, and you took over the show and then back and forth. And I like to mention this because many people don't know that multiple people can log into StreamYard with the same username, and you can bring your guests in as a co-host with the same username. And that's what we did here today. So Neil added his personal profiles in here, so we're streaming in both Neil's accounts and StreamYard's and my personal accounts because he logged in as under my username. So if you're working with a team and you're regularly want to have people, your teammates, log in as co-producers, what you can do is you can use a generic like team email address, like marketing at StreamYard, right? So instead of Daniel at StreamYard, and then you would be able to all log in, and then if the access code will arrive in all your emails. So all you need is the access code. So when he logged in, he asked me, "Hey Daniel, what's the access code?" I just gave him the access code. He used my email address. So if you're working with a team, you can co-host like this with people. You can bring a guest as a co-host. It works great.
We do that at Digimentors. We use a common email address. We'll share the pin as necessary. One of the things that's you need to be careful about, though, and obviously I was showing, I went back and showed Shree's comment earlier. I was showing the overlays, but you want to make sure you have very clear lines of responsibility if you're have two people producing a show at the same time. So typically, one way of approaching it, for example, is to have one producer, one director, focusing on the cameras, which you're switching back and forth, 2-shot, 1-shot, etc., and the overlays, and let another director focus on comments and banners, so that you're not hitting the same buttons at the same time. If Daniel and I both went to see, we saw a comment that we liked, we could hit it at the same time, and actually he can put it on the screen and I'll take it off by mistake. And so when, depending on the production, you want to avoid that type of thing. If it's something a little bit more casual, that's not a problem. But yeah, having more than one person backstage is always helpful.
Okay, so let's move on. And I'm getting notifications that my audio and video are terrible, so I'll give the lead back to you. Either way, I want the lead back in your end. So sure. Let's talk about run of the show. Sure.
And before we do that, I just want to do one more comment about overlays, if you don't mind. Where one thing that we do, in addition to the headers that I was talking about, you can also use them to tell a story. I can put a graphic on the screen and talk about, this was a previous guest on our Sunday New York Times read-along, Bill Roden, a former sports columnist. And then you can switch to another graphic. This is a book that he wrote, $40 Million Slaves. This is a podcast. Now, one of the things when you switch from one to another, you see your cameras for a moment. So actually, instead of doing that, I'll take it off and hold it for a beat, and then intentionally switch to another card, so it doesn't look like a mistake. But that's another example. Here's another show that we produce. She's on call Sundays at 11, and this is an upcoming show. Our friend Stefan Kaplan had to reschedule the Spin It Social Hour, but Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Great show about photography. But putting graphics like that on the screen also covers covers the people. And then what you can do, I can put this on the screen and then change what's happening underneath, and put Daniel in full shot, or bring Daniel down, put myself in a full shot, and you don't necessarily see the camera movement that's going on. So that's one thing that we like to do, is to hide. If we to bring a panel discussion, we'll put a card that is the whole panel, and then bring all the panelists on one after the other. So that's the final thought about overlays. You want to talk about run of show, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about run of the show, and how do you run your show as a team?
Sure. So some shows like this one, it's fairly straightforward. You'll talk with the guest. You'll have a couple of ideas about what you want to cover, and what issues you want to cover. I wanted that comment from Asher. These were all preloaded images, so you do have the micro appearance if you go from one image to another. It's I don't know how you avoid that. That's something that I know StreamYard is working on, but I had uploaded all these images beforehand. As far as a run of show is concerned, if you have a show like this, you might have a general idea of the agenda. We want to cover 3 topics today, right? Daniel's going to do the opening. We're going to talk about overlays. We're going to talk about run of show now. And then if you stick around, we're going to talk about Manycam, which is a great tool that I found for playing videos. And that's really all there is to it. But as you get more complicated shows, and if you're working with clients, you'll want to develop a more specific run of show. So here is an example of one run of show. I'm going to pull one up right now. Let's see here. This is a good one to show. Bring this up for you, which is the right here. This is a run of show that we did for an event for International Masters of Gaming Law, which was a 3-day conference that we did. Now, what I want to point out with this, and I can make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see for folks. you have the time in PST and Pacific time and Eastern time, because I was in Eastern time. We had the client was in the Pacific time, the runtime for the segment, the topic, what's on the screen. And then we also kept track of who was in the main studio and who was in the green room. If you have people who are waiting to come on, we set up a virtual green room so we can check their microphone and audio and camera and lighting and talk to them before giving them the link for the main studio. What I like to do is to highlight in a different color. For example, if this is a video, it's highlighted in blue. In this case, when we went to Slido to show polls, I highlighted that in pink, just to make sure I knew as a visual cue, I was going to switch to something else and look for that information. So this is a basic, like I said, the topic, and what's on the screen is the most important thing. This is who is going to be on the screen. I was going to do a voiceover, etc. This is pretty standard. Another run of show that we've done before, to get a little bit more complicated, we did a show for the UN, 18 shows rather in 4 days, the UN Development Program. And their run of show was this one. Now, this is incredible, and thank you, Stefan, for that shout out. Stefan's a great friend of ours and a great supporter. This run of show is a little bit more complicated. You'll see here several columns, and again, I'll make this bigger so folks can see it. What's interesting with this one is we not only have the time and the runtime, the subject, what's on screen. This is actually a simplified version of the run of show that the client was using. They had graphics and video in a separate column, what banners they wanted, and who was in the main studio. But if you look at the bottom, if you can tell that there are different tabs, we had this one document. This is a shared Google spreadsheet. Each show was on a different tab because we had different people running, different clients running each show. So we kept everything in one place. The formatting is a little different based on the show, because again, we had different people working on each project. So this is a more complicated one. The most complicated show that we did was a 24-hour show that we put together for Education International for World Teacher Day. We did it in 5 different segments, of like 4 hours each. And it certainly pushed our limits in terms of what we could do. And I want to pull that up real quick and find that for you. Let's see here. There we go. So I'll pull that up. And what you'll see with this is that, much to my chagrin, there were 6 different time zones we had to pay attention to. They did the 24-hour show was in one spreadsheet, straight through. Now again, we had a 5-minute break in between where we stopped the program and then restarted. We had scheduled posts. I think we had scheduled posts. But having the time in San Jose, in Kingston, New York, Accra, because it was an Africa-based show, Tunis, Brussels, Kuala Lumpur, and Sydney. And then we had the detail going across. Now, the interesting thing about this run of show is we not only had a local time, the runtime of each segment, what was on the screen, whether it was live or recorded, who was on the screen, etc. But this was all these times were all based on a formula. So if they made any edits to the time, it would update automatically. This was their working document for 2 months, and they kept editing different pieces. So this is something that you needed different time zones, because our team was in 2 different time zones. Matt Schick, who's a friend of StreamYard, was involved in the production of this. He's in New York, but we had other colleagues in Vegas. We had the host, our client was in Brussels. We had 5 different shows, one based in Asia, and then Africa, and then the Middle East, and Latin America, Europe, our local hosts. So everyone had to understand what was going on at what time. And the key to coordinating a show like this is to make sure you're on a conference call with your staff. So at the same time, we're on a conference call tracking what's going on. Lionel has a great question. How do you manage timekeeping? So for this show and for the one that we did with the UN, and I'll pull this off the screen for a moment. We actually had staff who, the way we staffed it, we had a director, we had an assistant director who was primarily focusing on the videos. We had people who were watching the show on our team on various channels just to make sure everything was working right. And we had a producer who was watching the run of show and in our ears reminding us what was coming next. What's the next video that we're playing? Are you ready with this graphic? Checking in with the green room to say, has somebody been prepped? Okay, move them over to the main studio. I'll tell you, Daniel, when StreamYard allowed for clickable links in the private chat, that made our lives so much easier. I can't tell you, so many times we had problems with people copying and pasting the link and going into the next StreamYard studio. So the clickable link made a huge difference for us. But yeah, we needed someone on our team to just remind us, okay, the next video is this. Are you ready with the next video? The next overlay is this. Are you ready for the next overlay, etc.
Right. And for a lot of us, this sounds like way overkill. Like, oh wow, so many people to produce a show. But now with the integration of StreamYard into Hopin, where Hopin as a virtual events platform, the big events there, and then you have definitely it's all orchestrated and planned. And in this scenario that you're talking about, managing the show to the minute. Okay, who's up? Who's the next guest? Who's introducing them? Do you have the image ready? You have the soundtrack for them ready? All of this stuff becomes very, very applicable to a lot of StreamYard users. Right now, it's the big producer types, but soon it's all of us. It's many of us, right? Anybody can create an event.
And those were 2 complicated shows. I don't want to, dismiss that. That's not. It's kind of similar to your setup in terms of your equipment. You really can do the show with just a laptop, right? If you use a headset at minimum. I was using a Surface for a while. As long as you have a good webcam. If you need to get an extra webcam, you don't need 4 monitors and a switcher and et cetera, et cetera. Similar with a run of show, you can do it on with a basic run of show, and I showed one earlier as well. So it's just a question of how complicated your show is. If it's a complicated show, you need that kind of setup.
Okay, Keisha had a question here about how do you set up the green room? You mentioned
Sure.
in the run of the show, talking to people in the green room before allowing them into the backstage.
What we do is we call it a virtual green room. It's really just another StreamYard studio with another director in the room. So I see a colleague, Julia Weeks, who was watching, who works with us at Digimentors. She often will staff the green room. And effectively what it is, think of one studio as live. So I'm here live with Daniel right now. And imagine we've set up another studio in another broadcast studio that's not live. And you give your guest that link and have them go there. Because, of course, we can't talk to people in the live show. If you had another guest, Daniel, that was coming on, we can't, you don't want to prep them on air. You don't want to check out their lighting or test their audio.
Right.
That can all happen in a separate studio. And then when they're done and we're on the phone saying, oh, do you have someone in the studio? Are you done? Okay, we have space in our studio because we've gone through our panel. We've kicked our panelists out. We're ready to have the next panel come in. So it takes that coordination, but it's just a separate one studio that's live, one studio that's not live.
It's not recorded, not live recording. So just 2 different broadcasts and streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's brilliant. So using a second broadcast as another green room, that's super smart. I love that, and we talk about it internally as well, because as you're seeing, I'm inviting people to join the screen live, and I bring people live in, just cold
Yeah.
turkey, bring them in and let's see what happens. That's not always an appropriate solution for many brands, right? They want to have pre-screen people, and this provides. And we've been talking internally, like what's the appropriate space to put them in. This is a great solution. We might try that for one of our coming shows.
I'm going to pop there's a comment from Lionel. I don't know if you, but he would take Veronica's to have two studios. Exactly. I mean, so the other thing to think about is that if you're doing a 1 hour show, we ask people to come in 15 minutes ahead of time, just like Steven said, to test them out and to make sure. That's sometimes not always possible though. You might get a VIP, and we've worked with CEOs, with heads of state. If they're coming in for a 20-minute segment, quick shout out to Rose, a friend of ours, a colleague of ours at Digimentors. If someone's coming in for a segment, at 1:45 and your show starts at 1, and they can't sit around for an hour, you need a way to be able to test them out before bringing them on board. I, as a director, Daniel, I give you a lot of credit. I don't have the courage to put someone on the screen if I haven't checked them out first. Now, if someone like Leo, for example, happened to pop in backstage, we know that his microphone and his camera is going to be great. But if it's a speaker that we haven't had a chance to do tech prep with, it gives me the willies. I'll just be honest with you.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Leo, because we have a surprise guest pop in.
Did I spoil the surprise? Leo, good to see you.
You did. Neil is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And just I'm here so that everybody knows it's not you, Neil. It's Daniel's camera and mic today. Somebody's digging up the tree again or something, Daniel.
I tested my internet speed. It's fine. I'm gonna have to break. I don't know.
Are you on? You're not on what, Daniel? Are you on wireless?
I am on wireless, but my speeds are very fast. So
wireless. Wireless.
Yeah.
Wireless. Forget
everyone who's plugged in, raise their hand.
Okay.
See that? All of us who are plugged in we can raise our hand twice by the time you actually answer, Daniel. Honestly, no, it's great. I mean, watching what Neil's talking about on the big events, and as you know, I do some big events. Nobody should be sitting there saying, "Wow, there's a load there," and do I need to get there? It's like, no. This time last year, I was sitting where Daniel was in terms of quality, and it go up and up and up and up. And it's gradual, and what Neil's talking about is exactly the case. Neil and I are working on an event next week. It's a 24-hour event. We're going from Australia right the way around the world for WordPress, and it's all in StreamYard. We've got something like 48 speakers. It's going to be great, and it just runs and runs and runs. But don't think you have to do that from day one.
I'll tell you the other thing about a run of show, even a simple run of show. I showed one earlier. It's really great if you are planning an event and then bring in a producer at the last minute. If a director knows what they're doing, and I did this for one of my shows. I wasn't expecting to direct it, and I jumped in at the last minute. I looked at the run of show. The assets were already loaded. Kind of a quick scan, and okay, I can do this. I know the speakers are here. And I know who to put on, when to put on which overlays. Oh, we have to play a video here. Okay. And you can do it that way too. So Leo, I'm looking forward to a really good run of show.
You want to say, so we have created a master book. Yeah. So taking from your run of show, taking it even further, everything now is in one Google Doc. Everything we do now is in Google Sheets because of the fact that everybody's remote. But we create one master document that we have every single thing. We have all the contacts, everything, because when you're live on a show, you just don't have the time to try and search around in your email to find something that you knew. So everything is in one place.
Absolutely.
And this is not a tech tip. It's more like a job tip. with what's happening with Hopin and other platforms, StreamYard producers are going to be in high demand. So if you're starting on that career path at the moment, this is going to be a good career path for the next few years.
I hope so.
And as you can see, there's people like Neil and I are a bit older. We'll be thrown out the door soon. So the new guys are going to come in.
I hope I got a little bit. I left a job at United Way to do this full time. I mean, that's how great it was. When we got a job with the UN, we got a contract with Deloitte. I had to make a decision of which way to go. So from your mouth to God's ears, Leo, that we have years.
And I just realized I was not branded enough. So cheers, guys.
There you go. How about a quick cheers, Daniel?
Daniel, that was about 2 minutes later, Daniel. We did it 2 minutes ago.
So I wanted to, first of all, thank you, Leo, for hopping in. I appreciate it. If anybody else want to hop in for a question, please do. I'm going to remove you, Leo. Thank you so much. Because we got more to cover.
Daniel, I just want to, if you don't mind, I saw a comment earlier. Lionel, I don't know if you popped this on the screen, is going to be doing CES next year on StreamYard. If Lionel, if there's anything, any advice I can offer, any help, if you need any help from Digimentors, please don't hesitate to reach out. But CES is cool. Our friend Bob Anthony is a tech reporter and is paid close attention to CES over the years.
Right, and so I wanted to just address the several comments about Hopin and producer.
Sure, please.
So I wanted to just say, first of all, you don't have to use Hopin. We're agnostic in that sense. You can use custom RTMP to any service, any kind of event service. Veronica, you were asking, so there you go. And for a point about producers, that job getting to be busy. So if you want to be a StreamYard producer, we have a directory of StreamYard producers that we recommend. They are on the website. You can get to them by once you're logged in. Go to that button called My Account in the top right. Go to Partner Resources, and you'll see the link to the StreamYard producers PDF, where we have a list of PDF. Neil, I believe you're on that list, right?
Yeah.
Yep, and that's a brand new program. We just launched it. It's in beta, and we're looking to expand it sometime soon. So if you're interested in hiring a producer or in becoming a producer, take a look at that. You'll find the link, all the information in there. We got a bit of time for Manycam, and so let's get right into that.
Absolutely. So we've talked a lot about video, how to show video during a show, and of course StreamYard has recently increased the capacity for playing videos as overlays from 5 minutes to 10 minutes, from 100 megabytes to 200 megabytes. One note with that, playing videos that way is really effective, and I think you have a couple of video clips in there. Your intros and outros are set up. We like to tell people if we load a video like that, all you have to do is press a button and it plays automatically and it lifts automatically when it's done. One of the things to note though is that when you're looking at a file size, you have to look at the detail in Windows Explorer. There are times when I've seen a file size look like it's 99 megabytes, but if you look at the fine print, it's actually 100, 232, 240, whatever. Like it's just over the limit, and now obviously 200. So just be mindful of that. When we were doing the shows for the UN and for Education International for World Teachers Day, we had hundreds of videos we were showing for these events. Some of these were short, some were longer. And a colleague, Matt Schick, who is a friend of StreamYard and has been on several of these shows, uses a Mac and was using something called QLab for playing video, preloading videos and being able to play them automatically. It's better than screen share. One of the challenges with sharing a video, you can share a longer video with screen share in Chrome. You have to make sure you click the share audio button. But one of the challenges is that you will see the play button when you go to play that video, and some people don't want to do that. You also can't line up videos as easily one after the other. So I was looking for an alternative. I'm a PC guy, although I have a Mac on order as a third option. But for PC, the best option was a software called Manycam, which I want to show you right now. So I will share that screen. Here is what Manycam looks like. And so I've loaded this up with the graphic. One of the things, a basic thing you can do with Manycam is, what I like is not just video, but a timer. People talk about doing timers on the screen. If you look on the right-hand side here, I can turn this timer on. I can move it wherever I want on the screen. I can change the time on the fly. So if I want to make it a 3-minute timer or 2-minute timer, I can just do that. So we used this for an event once when we had a slight break and we wanted to count down. I just press play and it'll start a countdown. This is actually set for 2 hours, not for 2 minutes. I did that on a show once, real story, and had to do a quick adjustment. Always check what you're doing, right? Here's a 2-minute and 53-second countdown. It can be change the color so it matches the branding if you wanted to. You can move it wherever you want on the screen, wherever it fits well. But when we did this at an intermission, we were doing it where, we didn't know when exactly we'd finish. We had 10 minutes planned, but we only ended up with 5. So if you had preloaded a 10-minute timer, you'd have been stuck in terms of a video. So this really helps. Just for this helps for a number of things. There's also a stopwatch that you can put on the screen if you wanted to time something going on. It's obviously going slowly. You can also show a clock if you wanted to. So there are different things like that. But the main thing for using Manycam that I found was showing video. And to do that, I'm going to switch to, let's see here, the presets over here. So this is and one of the things, you can have different presets for showing video, for showing the timer, etc. And we did this for an event where we preloaded. If you look at the bottom, there are a number of videos that are at the bottom covered by the comment. These were testimonials to a Professor James Scott, who won the Social Science Research Council Hirschman Award. They recorded these videos and we just loaded them en masse. And what's great is that when you play one video, and I can turn the volume down so we don't hear it, but you can go to play a video and this is playing. I can go to a further spot in the video. I can see the little timer right here. So I can play from there. Let's play from the very end. And so when I play that, it'll actually transition automatically into the next video without my doing anything. Hands were off the computer. So you can, if you have several videos, you can just play them one after the other. You can pause the video. You can change the transition time between different items if they're graphics and what the fading looks like. So I think it's a really great tool. And then what I can do is I can play this video. If I put a graphic in between, I can stop the screen share, remove this from the screen, go back to the show, and then on the back end, I can change which video I'm getting ready to show. So I'm going to jump ahead to the next video in Manycam and then add it to the screen, and it's right there. Now I'm adding, just so you know, I'm adding the Manycam as an application so that I can show you all the buttons. The best part about Manycam is that you can actually change it so that it's showing, it's only showing the video window, nothing else. So I'm going to do that. I've added on a second screen here. I'm going to add this to the add this and take off the camera and put this right here. So you see now I'm going to move this. This is a different, so I'm using my second computer. This is a setup in Manycam. This is an event we did for Pratham in India, a nonprofit focusing on children's education. If I take off, one of the things you want to do when you do that is take off the display name or change the display name underneath, because this is actually coming in as a virtual camera, right? So let me change this to virtual camera to show you what that looks like. And Matt, thank you very much. Matt Schick, again, I mentioned earlier, turned me on to mention QLab for Macs, and I went looking for Manycam as a PC alternative. But now this is on as a virtual camera, and I can actually make this full screen and play a video. And this is effectively another camera. It's a virtual camera. I can switch to a speaker. So if I'm playing this video and then switch right to me as a speaker, and then take Manycam off, I'll go back to Manycam so you see this is playing full screen. I can just remove it as a speaker and go back to where we're talking. So those are two things that I really like. And yes, it is software. It is paid software, as Michael is saying. OBS is free. And yes, you can use, I mean, it depends on what you want to do with your setup. I didn't find Manycam to be too expensive. I believe it was like $125 or so. I can check the pricing if you're interested. But if you think about what you're spending for gear, what you're spending for a good webcam, etc., it's a very powerful tool from what I can tell.
Yeah, OBS. So there are a few questions here about using OBS and virtual cams. So there's a virtual cam plugin for OBS, which you can use. OBS is way more complex, but there are we do have a chunk of users who use OBS with StreamYard, either through virtual cam or with NDI, which my co-host Chad Peterson uses when my show Pellucid. So there's lots and lots of options to use different tools together with StreamYard. But yeah, I wanted to clarify this point here about the fact that this virtual camera replaces that one window.
Correct.
That one user, not the entire screen. If you want to replace the entire screen, you either get an application and then just do. So if I get an application, I do full screen with it. So I just do add screen and then go full screen. And I think you showed this a minute ago.
Well, this is actually. So this is the camera. This can go full screen because it's just like another person's webcam, right?
Great.
What I've done, I loaded it on my second laptop and I logged into StreamYard. So this is here's the difference, right? I'm going to switch the camera, and then you'll see me from the side. This is the side view, a better view of the shirt. So we'll show the StreamYard duck shirt, right? But this is, so what I'm doing, and if you need to, I'll get out my camera if I need to show you, but effectively I have two computers, and on this computer over here, it's just the webcam to my face, so I'm talking. For purposes of the demonstration, I set up Manycam on this computer and switched the camera. Instead of showing my face, the webcam, I switched the camera. I chose Manycam as the option. So when I chose Manycam, it's showing the video that is coming in through Manycam. Now, what you can do if you don't need to have two computers to do it. When you are directing a show, then you just switch your main camera from your webcam to Manycam, and you don't need to be on camera anyway if you're directing. So that's the way that we usually handle it. But then you just make that full screen, and show the video that way.
And Asher has a brilliant suggestion here. You can do the exact same thing in an incognito window. So now you can share your virtual cam from the incognito. So you log in twice from two different windows. In the incognito, you can download, I think Leo suggested this to me once. It's called, it's an alternative to, it's Google Chrome Canary. It's like an open version of Chrome. It's I think it's a beta version or something. It's another version of Chrome. So if you don't want to have two Chrome windows open for some reason, you can open Firefox, Canary, um, open two Chrome windows with two different profiles, right? All of these options are available. One of them, a login from both of them at once. One of them, you have your camera. The other, you have your virtual camera or screen share or whatever, right? So, or video playing. So really, really smart. And then you can just switch between them in StreamYard. Beautiful, beautiful solution.
And I just want to clarify this question from Human City Junction that he was asking about, that you need two computers. Again, just to be clear, you don't need two computers. I switched my camera on my main computer, the webcam, to my Manycam that's loaded on this device. It's showing videos there, and the other one is ready to show a video on the other computer. I'm still able to. I can. And the other thing that you need to do is to make sure you switch the audio, so you're picking up the audio from Manycam. So that right now I have the audio off and I have the microphone set so that you can hear me. So it is a lot to coordinate, but I think that it really does change, give you more options in terms of what you can do with your productions, and that's really what I was trying to show.
Okay, good. Now we're right at the moment where we need to select a winner for our little contest. So let's give people a chance, a minute or so, to put their, type in love StreamYard hashtag, and in a minute or so, a couple of minutes, Neil will pick one lucky person to hand a mug to. So just go ahead and type it in there. That's how we pick. And you can also type in, any kind of other questions or remarks you might have. Yeah, Neil, this has been amazing and great ideas and fantastic contributions for the audience, which I love most. We didn't have many people on camera today, but we had great suggestions and great questions. So it was very manageable, and it was super helpful to have a co-host. I have it is great. Yeah, lots of comments here, which is fantastic. Great. Thank you, Asher.
And I just scratched the surface with Manycam. There's much more you can do with it. The second screen. So Stefan was asking. I certainly encourage you having a second monitor, even if you have just one computer. I bought a portable monitor. So just in terms of looking at tech, this is a Lee Pow external portable monitor. Really folds up really well. I can put it away. 15-inch. I can set it up to the side so that when I'm sharing screen, whether it's video, Manycam, whether it's even a PowerPoint, sometimes we share PowerPoints for folks. You can put it in full screen. It doesn't take over your main display. So a second monitor does help, but it doesn't have to be, depending on your setup, you don't have to have two big monitors. You can have a little one that folds up and goes away.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer is asking if we could have a deep dive into Manycam. I think Christian, if you're still watching with us, that's a cue for a Learn with StreamYard at some point. And yeah, awesome.
As a teaser, Daniel, if you don't mind, just because you mentioned Christian, he's also asked me to write a blog post about this one issue that's come up a lot: streaming, using RTMP, streaming to a Wix website. That's something that we do a lot for clients who want a private experience. They want to sell tickets. They don't want it on social media. So with Wix, we can set it up where there's a password for the page. So there's password access, or you have to even log in and set up an account for the page. But there are some tricks and tips you need to get around some of the limitations that Wix has. So look forward to a blog post, maybe a future StreamYard Tech Talk or a show with Christian. But in public, Christian, thank you for the opportunity to write that post. I'm not going to make the deadline for today. I apologize, but I will get it to you as soon as I can.
Fantastic. Yeah, and we're about to launch the new StreamYard blog, so so stay tuned for that. That we have some amazing content already curated for you from our community, from various experts, Christian has been putting that together and been doing an amazing job. So stay tuned for when it goes live, hopefully very, very shortly. And yeah, so Neil, why don't you pick a winner for us today?
Sure. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter at Neil Parekh, or find me on Facebook. Feel free to send me a note or connect. So we're looking for hashtag love StreamYard in the comments. We don't have we're waiting for Daniel to share, not Daniel Glickman, but Daniel Briggs to share the picker software he uses at the town halls. You could definitely use that, right, for this show. So let's see. Who do we have looking for? The first one I saw right here, Gabriel Garcia Aguirre, loves StreamYard with the duck. I think extra points for getting the duck in there as well. So Gabriel gets the unless Gabriel already has the swag. Is Gabriel the winner, or?
Yeah, Gabriel. Well, Gabriel, you picked Gabriel, so we'll go with Gabriel. Unless
you're just showing everyone else.
Yeah, I'm just showing everybody else now. Just it's just a habit at this point of going for the comments. So Gabriel, yeah, DM me directly through the stream, through whatever channel you're on. I think Gabriel was on Facebook, so it'll be easier.
Yeah, Facebook.
Me or anybody on the marketing team, or just email marketing@streamyard.com with your address, and we'll get it right out to you. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us on the show. Thank you so much, Neil. This was really informative. It was great. We love on the show bringing in real people that do real work and showcasing how they do it. And you did it beautifully, and you shared such wonderful stuff. And if anybody is looking for a producer out there, then you now have a really good one to talk to. If you just want to have community and network with them, here you go. There are plenty in our group and on our chat. So if you're not on our Facebook group, check it out. On Facebook, StreamYard Community Group. And we'll see you here next week at the same time. I believe it's next week. So see you then.
And I'll make it a point. I know there are a lot of comments that came in that we couldn't get to. I'll go through and respond to as many as I can. Thank you for having me on, Daniel. This was great.
Anytime. We might have you again at some point in the future.
Sure.
Bye, everyone.